Could be an interesting one, this. It's Monday, the 5th of December, and this is the Cat's Whiskers podcast, live. Hello and welcome to the Monday review edition of the Cat's Whiskers podcast. My name is Jono Bullard. Along with me tonight to discuss another great weekend for the Nottingham Panthers are Paul Balm.
Am I in the right place?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
And also joining us is some woman, Tina Taylor.
Some woman. That'll do.
Some woman who we have on this thing every week. All right, so I expect this podcast probably won't be for those of it's not going to be cheerful. Let's put it that way. After the weekend, I missed it. I was working, but unfortunately, Paul and Tina did see the game on Saturday night, but we will talk about that very, very shortly. We're also going to have some of the tweets that you sent us during the day and discussing those and some of the issues that they bring up. We'll be talking about the Elite League statement on DOPS and team fines, and also the comments that Brock Wilson made in the Nottingham Evening Post. And we'll also look at the rest of the Elite League results and news. But we will start, as we have to, with the Panthers games at the weekend. A Saturday and Sunday doubleheader against Sheffield Steelers at the NIC on Saturday. Panthers 4, the Sheffield Steelers 5. Steelers opening the scoring early in the first period through Matthew Waugh. Brad Moran equalising on the power play. The power play, can you believe it? Matt Carter then with what I was told was a brilliant individual goal to put Panthers 2-1 up before John Armstrong equalised and Ben O'Connor put the Steelers ahead going into the first interval. Chris Lawrence equalised on the power play before Robert Dowd took the Steelers into the second interval with a 4-3 lead. Then controversy. Carter thought he equalised for the Panthers, but the goal was disallowed due to Dan Spang not having his chin strap done up, which led to Marcus Nilsson putting the Steelers 5-3 ahead before Matt Carter scored a consolation goal, but Panthers could not find the equaliser. So, guys, you were both at the game, and Tina, I'll start with you because you sit over the benches, so I'm sure you would have had a good view of this. So, what was the reaction when the fourth goal was not given?
Well, you could start actually with the reaction from the Steelers bench just before the goal went in. They were screaming absolute blue murder, and to be perfectly honest, we were all sort of wondering why, wondering what they're whinging about because
Steelers whinging, surely not.
Well, this was a special. This was a special kind of whinging, even for them. It's just it was. The whole bench stood up just pointing at Dan Spang. Now, originally we all thought that they were pointing at him because he was on after having taken a high stick. So, he'd taken his high stick, he'd either taken his helmet off or it had fallen off, I forget which had happened. And he's just about to get himself onto the bench when he's ordered out on the power play. So, and as I say, I didn't see what they were whinging about. I just knew that they were all yelling and screaming and pointing at Dan Spang. And I thought, well, they must be whinging about the fact that he's actually on the ice, having, apparently just suffered an injury by taking a high stick. But, as it then turns out, the announcement comes over and, from Steph, and, we're all just sort of, baffled. Fair enough. If that's the rule, that's the rule. I know when in the Elite League, when your helmet comes off, you have to skate off. And in fact, that actually did happen in the game. Lindhagen lost his helmet at one point, and he had to just abandon the play in the corner and come back to the bench immediately. And he knew that, and that's fine. And he off he went. But and Spang unfortunately did try to hide it as well. You could see in the huddle after the goal was scored, he's hastily trying to do his strap back up on the helmet. So it's just it was it was annoying, quite frankly. But them's the rules. I mean, there's been a Panthers press release since then that has said that they've spoken to the head official. Now, I assume that is still Simon Kirkham, unless somebody wants to correct me. And that press release says that the illegal equipment penalty shouldn't have happened, so we should have remained on the power play.
No, it should have.
I know.
It should have been a warning. But, yes, the penalty was called incorrectly. Paul, I'll come to you about the official, because this was the same official that got all the controversy in Cardiff the previous Sunday, when their opposition was, surprise, surprise, the Sheffield Steelers. So, from your... I have no idea, because I've only really seen the results, and I've seen a bit of the reaction online and social media. But how did you feel he performed on Saturday night?
Are we subject to the new Elite League fines?
I'm not as far as I believe,
considering
that we're not official. So off you go.
I wasn't exactly impressed. Put it that way. I mean, all right, he more or less got the what we've just been talking about right, but at the end of the day, that's a schoolboy error on both Spang and, by the sound of it, the bench's fault, really. And to say, oh, we're taking our dummy and we're not talking to you, taking our ball in even, is a bit pathetic, I think, in my eyes. But he was, if I'm honest, I didn't think he was great. I don't think he let the game flow. There was some very, very strange calls, I felt, but we can't sit and blame the referee.
No, we can't. I mean, the strangest penalty, just to interject, the strangest penalty was Brian McGrattan getting 2 minutes for elbows when it was clearly Chris Lawrence. Brian McGrattan didn't even touch him. It was just, McGrattan's coming in and he's lining him up for a hit, and Chris Lawrence beat him to it, which is just, and it was brilliant. We're all just there, just laughing away.
One of the goals in the first period, Zach Fitzgerald got an assist, and I don't think he was even on the ice. I mean, right, people from Sheffield will tell you Zach Fitzgerald's decent, but he's no Tony Hand. I mean, I'm sorry that we can't. I mean, we haven't really sort of sugared the pill at any point at all so far, but I'm sorry. All right, we scored 4 against Sheffield. They scored 5. I mean, all right, one of them did go off Steve Lee's backside, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But there were times that, especially that first period, when it were men and boys. It really was. You know what you're going to get with Mustakovs. You're going to be pucks flying everywhere. He'll hardly catch anything. But they knew how to deal with it. They knew where the pucks would be going, and we didn't have the same ability. We were purely outplayed. I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons why we just walked out of that game and just thought, oh, we've lost. Yeah. 10 minutes later, we were talking about the price of fish. It was just like, yeah, we've lost. Move on. Here we go again.
Is it because we was expecting to lose? Do you reckon? Because I don't think there was many people. There was a few optimists who thought we might win, but on the whole, I think most people expected us to lose that game and lose it heavily. And I think to only probably come out with a 1-goal deficit, people would probably thought, well, that's not too bad. And that probably a reflection how bad we've fallen, in a way.
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, I didn't see any of the games last weekend, so I can only go off the reaction, that came after it, and by watching the highlights and what have you. But my impression from last weekend to this weekend is we played much better, but we played better opposition. And we played opposition who could capitalise on our mistakes. So it was. I didn't feel wholly downbeat about the game. We sort of came to the end of the second period, and I thought, yeah, there is a possibility we might actually get something out of this. But they came out towards the end of the second to a certain extent as well. But the guys came out in the third period and they looked absolutely bushwhacked. They were absolutely they were knackered. And I mean, I later on, I saw a tweet that hit the nail right. You just got it, bang on. And she said, I don't blame the team. I'm not reading it verbatim. She said, I don't blame the team. I blame an organisation that doesn't have a decent strength and conditioning program in place. Which I mean, exactly. that's going on. It's going over old ground, so we don't need to bring that into a discussion again. But you can see the guys are fatigued. I mean, we're playing short. We've got two of our top minute defensemen who are out. We're still missing David Clark, and we've not really. I mean, we're not replacing anybody. We're just carrying on. We're just trying to muddle through. And I mean, in previous seasons, we haven't done that. I mean, I've said it before, even this season, we had the season where we were dubbed the checkbook hockey team of the Elite League. And apparently we're not doing that now. So we're just letting guys play tired, risking more niggles. And, it's just as the cycle repeating itself.
And I must admit that was from a couple of sources. I saw things where we looked absolutely done in after halfway through the game, and that's not good. And I know we're playing short, but you expect these guys to be fit and be able to last a 60-minute game of hockey. They played twice in a weekend. That hasn't changed, and that is extremely worrying if the team is looking absolutely beat 25% of the way through your weekend program.
They should be. The club should be looking at why that is, and trying to take advantage. Not advantage. Sorry, trying to work out ways to combat it, because that it's going to keep happening. And the longer we play, the longer you're playing short, which means the people you've got to play are going to have to play more, to become more susceptible to injuries, and we've got to look at why we're doing it. It's all right getting people in through the door time and time again, but are they going to keep coming if what they see is substandard? Because, all right, you turn up once, you don't know how good it can be. So, there'll be people who that was their first game probably. They usually end up sitting in front of me, which is slightly irritating, but we'll move on from that. And, they don't understand how good or bad a game is. But over time, you learn, and you think, well, this isn't much good. What's the point of spending 18 quid watching this? I'll go and do something else.
Yeah, and I think one of the worrying things I've seen online since both the games this weekend is a number of especially long-standing fans, season ticket holders, who are saying, I ain't renewing my season ticket next season. Yeah, I'm not coming. People who have said they've got season tickets and are not bothering to turn up. I mean, okay, the club's got the money, but that's worrying. If a lot of fans I saw with that reaction over the weekend, and we'll move on to last night's game shortly, but that can't be good. And surely the management have got to be looking at that and worrying. And if they're not, and I hope they are, but they might not be, then it just goes to show that the amount of arrogance that may exist within the management.
When it's your long term, sorry, Tina, I'll let you say something later.
It's all right, you crack on.
Yeah, it's all right. No, I feel most of the time.
I'm only. Well, it's just some woman. You don't worry about it.
Yeah. When it's your regular business, your regular fans, the fans who've been coming years, done season tickets for years. When they're the ones that are saying that, then that's when the club has got to start looking at what's going wrong, for me, because that they are your bread and butter. I don't want to get into bread and butter and jam all over again like last week, but they're the ones who are coming in, week They're the ones who turn up on a Tuesday night for Edinburgh or Dundee or somebody, rather than, it's a Saturday game, let's go to the game first before we go down the pub. I mean, fine, you've got to keep attracting people in because, because of natural wastage, people do drift away for whatever reason. But any business worth its salt understands that your repeat customers are the key to your success.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing from Saturday night is that Panthers refused to speak to the media after the game because, something we'll get onto later about fines for speaking out of turn about Dobson, the official, shall we say. But Panthers refusing to speak to the Nottingham Post, so no quotes for Matt Davis in his match report. And, how did you feel about that, Tina? Do you think it was a bit petty? Do you think they was right not to speak to the media? Do you think it's a two fingers up at the Elite League? What was your immediate
Before I say
reaction?
anything, Tina, can I just say, I'm joking, go on.
I would have hung up if I didn't think you were, don't worry. I think we've had media shared enough beers at the bunkers now for me to get half a handle. Anyway, and believe me, we needed those beers on Saturday. But what was it? Yeah, so the Panthers not speaking to the media. My initial reaction was I just rolled my eyes. I thought, well, it's the reaction itself is I can understand it, but also at the other, on the other side, it's possibly a little bit petty. I can understand how the club wants to protect itself in terms of not getting those fines in the first place, because from what was issued out, we've already got two people who are involved with the Nottingham Panthers who have been fined. There were £200 of fines that were announced by the Elite League retrospectively. So that's two people who are on their first warning. So, I mean, we don't know who those two people are. I assume the clubs know who they are. So, those two people now, they're on their first strike, as it were. And then, it only accumulates crews from there, which we know. So, it's so easy to say something in the heat of the moment, as I well know. I've done it myself, but I mean, that was, I think that was a lot of inexperience from me. That was a lot of inexperience and naivety from me, and just running my mouth, which I can do. I can do that very, very well. But you are talking here about seasoned professionals who, in some fashion or form, have had to deal with the media throughout their careers. And you'd like to think that they would come up with some other way. If somebody was to say, to ask them the question, how did you feel about the officiating? One thing you can say is, there were some calls I didn't agree with. That is not blasting any official. That is not, that is not being... It's not being, disrespectful towards a referee. That is just saying, this is my opinion. I don't agree. There were some calls I didn't agree with. And, if you're wanting to get any more specific, you always have the, I don't want to comment on that option. That is a genuine possibility. I mean, we all know that those fines are hanging above the heads of club employees. And it's not just club officials. It seems to be, anybody who's involved with the club can be fined. I mean, it seems to be a very wide net that they have cast over this. So, and it even goes so far as, somebody retweets something or favourites something on Twitter that's a little bit controversial. It does seem to be a very hard line. So the Panthers have taken a hard line in response to that. And I can understand it in a way. But there are ways of getting around it. But unfortunately now, that if and when the Panthers decide that they are going to start talking to the media again, it's back to the bland old post-match interviews that everybody bemoans. Oh, well, we've heard this before, and when you said that last week, and so you can't have it both ways. If there are repeat complaints from multiple sources about the same thing, then perhaps fixing the source of the issue is more important than stamping down, and laying the law down on people's opinions.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. But I must admit, from a personal point of view, it's nice to be on the same level as every other Panthers media outlet for once.
Well, yeah. Welcome to our world, everybody else.
We'll move on to Sunday. That was at the Sheffield Arena, and the Sheffield Steelers came away with a 6-1 victory. It does not get any better at all. Robert Dowd, Levi Nelson, David Phillips with the goals in the first period. Levi Nelson with his second. Mike Ratchuk scored before Logan McMillan got Panthers' only marker, his first of the season, just before halfway through the game. Mike Ratchuk again sealing the victory with the 6th goal 5 minutes before the end. A nasty stat from this: Panthers have now conceded 21 goals in 3 visits to Sheffield this season, and Paul, that is just not good enough.
No, it's pitiful, frankly. I mean, I was at this point going to make a joke about the fact that when we play them the last time we played Sheffield, we'll win 1-0. Because it's gone 8-1, 6-1. Next one will be 4-1, then 2-1. That's too many. No, first game next season, we'll beat them 1-0. But anyway, enough of that frivolity, because it's really not, the correct place for it. It's pitiful. It's going back to what I was saying earlier. It's men and boys.
And the thing is,
men and boys. It's almost like. It was 5-4 Saturday night. It's almost like they were playing with us. It's almost they were able to just turn up and put half an effort in, beat us, and then put on the display for the fans. And we just capitulated again.
And the thing is, this is supposedly teams we're supposed to be competing with. I mean, we took the defeat to Cardiff in midweek, 2 defeats to Sheffield at the weekend. And, okay, we're not in the league, forget the league, but we should be challenging for the league, and these are teams we should be competing with and teams we should be beating if we're to have any hope of winning another league title, and we're just nowhere near close to them.
The thing is, though, it's not like this is the first year this has ever happened, is it?
No, but...
time and time again we've been in this situation where, all right, not particularly often has it been this early in the year, in the season, but when we're out of the race, and it's you don't want to say, oh, it's not good enough, we should be this, that and the other, but we have the resources. You look at the crowd, something like we look at the crowds we've been getting all season, and the money's there. So,
and I believe crowds are up. Average crowds are up season on season.
This is the problem we then have. We're sitting here saying it's not good enough. People will be walking away, this, that, and the other. And we've put in. I mean, I can't remember. I suppose, to be honest, Saturday night was as decent a performance as I can remember us putting in this season. But it wasn't great. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. There was still too many passes. You passes to nobody, just to an area where there was nobody there, but people still keep turning up. It's almost, you don't want to say it because it's your team, but the fact that people keep doing that is almost dispiriting. Why are we here when we're having to watch that?
And I watched the highlights. Well,
I didn't.
And you're right, it was men against boys. The room that Sheffield had for 4 of their 6 goals, it was like freedom of the offensive zone. Nobody challenged, and I felt sorry for Henry Passel because he was just completely hung out to dry. And I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's been no highlights from Saturday, so I haven't been able to watch them yet.
Highlights from Saturday,
but.
Well, there was Carter's goal, but even that, it's frustrating because it's taken until the start of December for him to show what we were told he could do. 3 months of the season's gone at this point.
Yeah,
3 months.
It's just, and it was. just watched it, and I just thought, this is terrible. We're awful. We are awful. And the thing is, looking at the result or the fixtures coming up and the table, there's a possibility that we could be in 9th place by the end of next week. Now let that sink in a second. 9th out of 10 in the Elite League. A team with our resources, with our crowds, 9th out of 10. Let that sink in a second. Because that is wholly unacceptable. I mean, Tina, your thoughts?
Yeah. I'd never. I mean, I know that there have been days like that in the Panthers' past, but I didn't think I was going to see them quite so soon. You know, I've read a few bits and bobs of Panthers history, and I know how bad it has got. But this is worrying. It's very, very worrying. I mean, at the moment, you know, we're sort of, you know, mid-table mediocrity is where we're at. I mean, we're level on points with Dundee at the moment. I mean, if you read the table as it stands, we're in a dogfight. We're in a dogfight with this. Let me just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's five teams that are separated by 2 points. You've got the Blaze on 15, the Clan on 16, the Stars, the Panthers, and the Storm 17 points. That's the table as read, and you know that's a mix of between 18 and 20 games. So we are genuinely in a bit of a dogfight. If we carry on, we're losing games, especially in conference games as well. If we start losing games at this sort of rate, then yeah, we could genuinely find ourselves in 9th place and not at playoffs because we weren't challenging. You know, if we sort of project forward, you know, we've been out of playoffs because we've been knocked out, but
we may not even make it.
Yeah, we may not even make it to the knockout stage. We may be knocked out before that happens. And
here's another
we just haven't achieved enough league points.
Here's another sobering thought. Edinburgh are in 10th place. They're 4 points behind us with 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
So there's even a possibility we could be bottom of the league.
Yeah, that possibility genuinely exists at the moment with the state of the team, the obvious issues that they are communicating up to us silently, you know, not intentionally but silently. You know, we can see that they're getting halfway through games and they're gassed, and you know, we've probably got guys playing hurt because of that. And why just why is this still happening? You know, we like you say, a team with our resources. Why are we not doing something about that?
I mean, I think we should make it clear.
It's baffled.
No team has a divine right to anything.
No.
I mean, it's sport. This can happen. However,
every team has an obligation to challenge and do the best that they can.
Yeah, and we are clearly not doing the best that we can. Far from it. And it's like you say, with the resources we have, because I'm sure we have bigger resources than any other club in the league due to the crowds that we get, and they're just not being put to good use at the minute in my eyes, and
they're barely being put to bad use, frankly.
I mean, 2 wins out of the last 11, 2 wins from 11 league games, 5 points out of a possible 22.
Yeah.
That's disgraceful.
Yeah.
I mean, was it the only team that we have that haven't beaten us yet is Dundee?
The form team.
Yeah, the form team. And so, you know, the thing. Here's a question that we'll either answer in 2 seconds or 3 hours. What is wrong? We can either go, there's too much, I don't know where to start, or we can pick it apart.
Well,
hours.
I was thinking about this before we came on it, and there's a lot wrong, and I think it stems from top to bottom. It goes all through the club, but this, I think it pinpoints to this. British hockey isn't the NHL. In the NHL, the general manager is generally the boss of each team, but these are huge franchises with minor league affiliates, lots of players coming through their system. Yeah, I get that. British hockey is not the NHL. So, in a British hockey team, and I've heard Sheffield say this several times, and I think this is one of the keys to why they are successful. The coach should be the most important person in the organisation. And our coach is not the most important person in the organisation. And for my mind, he should be. This is why I don't blame Corey Nielsen, because I think he should be given sole charge of all recruitment, all playing, everything to do with that. And I don't think he is. He should be the central figure of the whole of the Nottingham Panthers, and he's not. And I think that's where we go wrong. Sheffield, every single one of their coaches, and I know they've treated some of them pretty damn shabbily over the years, but whenever their coaches are appointed, their coach is the central person in that organisation. And they are expected to achieve success. And if they don't achieve success, they are out the door. Yeah. Now, you cannot complain about the success that Corey Nielsen has brought to the Nottingham Panthers in his 8 years as coach, his 10 years as a player. From someone like me and yourself, Paul, who's been going over 30 years, this is...
Over 36 now.
Yeah, and this is something that we never had. It was a trophy once in a blue moon. Now it's a trophy, at least a trophy every year. Yeah. So this is why I don't put the blame on Nielsen. I put the blame higher up the chain.
Yeah, and like you say, we can't complain with what we've had under Nielsen, but it still pales into insignificance when you look at Sheffield's. There's a lot about Sheffield not to like. Frankly, I'd love to meet one of their accountants, and some of the comments that come out of there, I think, are reprehensible. And we'll see what happens with the fines. I know we're talking about that later, but we'll see what happens. But you can't deny that they strive for the sport, for the sporting excellence. Some of the other stuff is a bit dodgy, but they strive for the sporting excellence, and and that's what it is. It's a sport. You don't win anything for having the most people in the crowd. You don't win anything for having the most sponsors. You win things by having the most. You win the league by having the most points at the end of the season. You win the playoffs by winning the playoff final. You win the Challenge Cup by doubling up a load of games, managing to win a game at Ice Sheffield, and then win the final. But that's, I say there's a lot about Sheffield not to like, but you've got to look at how they've done it. Like I say, putting the coach at the centre of everything, rather than, making it a media circus. Well, as long as we're keeping the sponsors happy. I mean, I was looking over somebody's. This is irrelevant. I was looking over somebody's shoulder at the Beefcake catalogue. I think it was your shoulder I was looking over, Jono, at the time. And that one died, didn't it? Basically,
he didn't react at all. I just went.
I was disappointed with that one. Yeah, you can edit that one out. And basically, that looks like a load of adverts for a garage with a player standing in the way. It almost looks like, get out of the way, I want to take a picture of those tyres for the sponsor.
Well, like the last 2 years,
that's irrelevant.
The last 2 years, it was Nottingham Tram. And it's just seeing a player with his shirt off stood on a tram. It just looks a bit, I don't know, a bit voyeur to me. I mean, I know the point of these
there's usually a bloke in that sort of state of undressed down by the tram stop, but he's normally got a couple of cans of Special Brew in his hand.
But no, I mean, it is. There is an awful lot of, the sponsors are more important than the actual on ice product. Sometimes it's you can't move for the various adverts. I mean, I feel very sorry for Ken Feast, because he's the amount of stuff he's got to remember to say. And then on top of all that, you've got all the sponsors adverts to get in, and yeah, I mean we're not the only team that does it, because it's I think it's hilarious when we go to other teams and it's the such and such sponsored insert player's name here gets a penalty in the such and such penalty box. It just becomes an essay. So yeah, it's a bit depressing sometimes to see all the sponsorship that seems to. I mean, fine, I get it, we need it, because there's not a lot of money floating around in British ice hockey. You don't go out there and get it. And the sponsors are they're imperative to our survival, because purely going on bums on seats, even with our crowd numbers, it's just not going to cut it. But it's a hard slog, and you really I try and block some of it out. I really do.
Anyway, we're drifting. We're rubbish. Yeah. Sheffield United. Move on.
Yeah, so we asked for some tweets from you guys this morning. So a tweet was put out. What are your thoughts on the weekend? Any positives? Were they right not to talk to the press after Saturday's game? We've had a comment from James who's listening live on Spreaker. He says, "What did you think about today's press release saying the players have been told not to come to the arena today? That's not really going to help." Tina, I think you mentioned this. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I can imagine that even though there's a scheduled practice, the organisation needs a day to breathe.
Well, they normally have Mondays off anyway, I believe.
Yeah, but it's. I can well imagine that we've just had two pretty morale-crushing defeats to our nearest and dearest. So I think, and Corey Nielsen himself has said that there will be consequences. So I don't know if there has maybe been a day, where the organisation is taking a step back and looking at what those consequences are going to have to be. So I don't know what to make of that, but yeah, if there are going to be consequences, then we need to start seeing it, because I think we've had an awful lot of the things are going to change or things are going to have to change, and we're not seeing a lot of it at the moment. But yeah, I would have expected a practice to have happened today. After two games like that, it's sort of it's the old, if you fall off your bike, get straight back on it, because if you don't, then you won't. You'll lose any momentum that you may have built up, any momentum and confidence. You'll have a day, you'll have some time to reflect on it, and you won't get back on again.
Or it could be just like the punishment beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah.
I mean, look at County. Their managers cancelled the Christmas party. So sometimes you've got to turn round and not only say to the players that wasn't acceptable, and I would 100% think that that's happened, but you've also got to show the fans that something's not acceptable. Don't go, I can't talk to you because I don't want to say something about the referee that will get me in trouble. Let's not blame Diana Ross. Let's not blame the wrong colour of paint. Let's use the new one. The excuses are there are no excuses. Just for once, I'd like to see somebody from the Panthers organisation come out and say, you know what, that wasn't very good. We didn't do very well. We were outthought. We were outplayed. I'm sorry. But what do you get? Oh, by the way, get your tickets for the 27th.
Good seats still available, or maybe not.
Yeah, book now to ensure disappointment.
Yeah, well, that had to get the award for worst time tweet of the night. Genuinely, that couldn't have come at a worse time. That was, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that. I mean, fine. It's a big game. It's a big game, and we want to build it up, and it's like a little benchmark for our season. But don't just
it's
tweet.
A game that almost sells out in a day. Do they need to advertise it? Do they need to advertise at that particular point?
Yeah. Do they need to advertise it when we've just lost 6-1 to the same team?
Yeah, and it's like I was talking to one of my kids about it, and they said if you watch the screen in the arena, half the time when the opposition scored, the advert that comes up is for buy tickets for the next game. I mean, it could be entirely accidental or whatever, but they don't help themselves. Come on, they really don't.
Okay, some of the tweets that we got sent in, and we got loads this morning. Panthers 6233 Sam says the M1 wasn't busy Sunday. That was a positive. So.
Oh, bless you.
Pete Gilbert, I've been going 6 years, the worst team I've seen. And I think it's certain. Well, Tina, you've been going a similar amount of time. Would you agree with that?
It's easy to feel like that because we're in it right now. But I mean, I think we've sort of got perhaps a similar feeling to the team. I think it was following the treble year. We had the likes of Brent Hendley, and was it Joe Jensen who was there the same season. It's just that was a team. Yeah, I mean that was a team of. That was a team, you could see they were trying, but it just wasn't happening. And so I think it's comparable. As I say, it's very, very easy to say that this is the worst team, but I think, we've seen, I don't think we've quite been in this position before where we've been quite so low down in the table. And I think that speaks to the rest of the league up in the game a little bit as well. It's not just us that are completely terrible. You have to give some credit to the other teams. A few years ago, you've got the Fifes and the Dundees who are actually genuinely challenging now, and it's I would personally guard against saying this is the worst team I've ever seen, but I think it's got that feel about it. It's got that feel of being a team that you're very nervous about going to watch week in, week out, and you don't get a lot of confidence from the performances of the team. The players themselves, as I say, you can see that they're trying. You can see that they're just sort of, they're frustrated. You can see that they are frustrated, and they want to know. It's almost like they're asking themselves, what can I do? I just don't know what to do. So, but
whose fault's that if they don't know what to do?
Well, can I just go on to another tweet that Dave Cheatham sent in? He says, "Don't know where you start with this team. Too many below average players." And is that just it? They're just not good enough.
Well, very possibly. When you looked at the teams being put together across the league over the summer, it felt like everybody was, moved forward. And I mean, all right, it might be because you tend to be more, well, people like me do, tend to be more critical of your own team anyway. But I don't think we've moved forward the way other teams have. We're talking about people like Fife, Dundee, even Edinburgh. They're back down in 10th. You look at the players they brought in; they've all improved. And then people like Cardiff have improved as well, and things like that. And we just seem to be, stuck. We've recreated in a lot of ways a fifth place team. We brought a lot of fifth place team last, but we brought players in. Almost, it would have seemed because Lawrence knew them, and I just don't think that the people that we, the replacements. There is good, there are some, there are flashes there. Lindhagen, I like. Nicky Foruk is great if he's between the last defenseman and the goalie. And look at the other week when he when he fought Noble. It was great. We all loved that. But that's not his job. He shouldn't be the one that's doing that. I mean, great, he stuck up for his team. That's what you want. That's what you want to see. I want to see that all night long. But that's not what we've signed him for. And yet he feels he's the one who's got to go and do that. That's not right.
More tweets that we've had. One about the refusing to speak to the media. He says, Fergie, I think he means Alex Ferguson. I won't put the sir on. Didn't speak to the BBC for years. So what? People moan about how bland interviews are, then moan when he doesn't give one. That
sounds like me, if I'm honest.
Sorry?
That sounds like me. I'll do that. I'll moan about how bland they are.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a point. There's a good point there. Deso Dark was a cop out as we become an embarrassment. 9 losses in 11 games is shocking. As we've been saying. Jake Leversuch, he says, regardless of how we try to dress it up, it's no points from 3 games against teams we are meant to compete against. Losing like we have to Steelers by those margins should spark a clear out. Not sure the management have it in them, however.
Should have read that out half an hour ago to save us all that time.
And Panthers banter, we'll finish on that one. 140 characters is not even close to the amount needed to express how I feel. I think that's how most of us feel at the moment.
Can I just read out my favourite one?
Go on.
From Barbara Sims. The worst part was my 5-year-old crying when Steelers kept scoring. He knows how bad the team are. Why doesn't Corey?
To be fair,
I mean, you could argue taking a 5-year-old to a hockey game, like the way we are at the moment, is borderline child abuse. But hey, at least the lad's being brought up right.
Yeah.
Take note, Jono. Take note.
We've had a tweet just in from Aunt Marie-Jean. He says, "I take the vast majority of the 2013-14 season team over this shower." So.
He's cut that off quite opportunely, hasn't he? Because I know how he wants to finish that sentence.
I like the way he's included the link to the players so we know who they are.
Yeah. I know, I've got such a terrible memory. Thank you, Ant.
Well, there's a lot of you listening tonight. If you do want to get in touch with us, at Catswhiskers TV, use the hashtag TCW Live. And if you send us a tweet, we will try and get to it before we finish the show. However, I think we will move on because we've been going 47 minutes already, and it's all been about how bad Panthers are. So we will move.
That premium account really paying dividends, isn't it?
Like you knew I'm so glad I upgraded last week. So glad.
Yes, it's a good job, really.
Yeah. And anyway, we move on to the Elite League statement last week about crackdown on dissent. Basically saying, with immediate effect, the Elite League has introduced increased financial penalties for players, coaches and club officials who make improper comments regarding referees, linesmen or the Department of Player Safety. So there's tariffs available, £1,000 fines. If you do it again, you face a £5,000 fine. There have been teams already fined. Five Flyers £100, Cardiff £200, the Sheffield Steelers £300, and the Panthers have been fined £200. So, a very interesting statement that caused an awful lot of discussion, mainly by saying it's not actually dealing with the problem, it's actually just silencing it. So you're not dealing with the source of the problem, you're just silencing those who speak out against it. Brock Wilson was in the Nottingham Post heavily criticising the lack of player safety from DOPS, and particularly cited the incident in Cardiff last week where I think it was Joey Haddad high-sticked Nelson before Cardiff scored, and nothing was given, or it was upgraded to a 5+ game penalty, I think. But no,
that was it.
Yeah, but no DOPS bans were forthcoming. So, yeah, what do we think of this? Is it a good idea that team officials should be fined for speaking out of turn, or is it actually just ignoring the actual problem? Paul?
Both.
Oh, darn! You beat me to it. I was going to say that too.
Tell you what, then I'll do the bit about covering it up, and you can do the bit about how good it is. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like oh, you can't do anything, you can't say anything. This is what you've got. This is what you've got to put up with. Get on with it. So, I mean, have they said anything about where the money will go?
No. I imagine it'll just go straight into Elite League coffers.
Yeah, never seen again. What about, what happens when somebody turns around and goes, I'm not paying? What have they got in place to ensure that somebody does? Will they actually even be fined? Given that we now hold cup draws in secret and things like that. I just think it's a very convenient way of hiding a problem. But I also think it's a good idea to stop people saying what they should. Don't you, Tina?
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, I'll bite. We can't go on with post-match interviews being filled with the referee was rubbish comments, because that's not fair. The referees do the best with what they have available, but what they have available is not good enough. We're still
waiting goal line technology.
Yeah, I'm a broken record again. We're waiting. It doesn't matter what it is that we've been promised that we're waiting for. The fact is that we've been promised things are coming to this league. The referees, the officials, the referees and linesmen have been promised that things are coming to this league that are going to help them, that are going to stop, all this finger pointing and all this, abuse that they are not suffering in the games, because they can punish that. They can and they have been, they've been handing out abusive official penalties like they're playing cards, because they've had to. That they can do something about that, but then they have to listen to people whinging on about their performance, and they're only doing the best that they can with what they have available. And what they have available is exactly the same as what they had available 20 years ago, and it's not good. It's not good enough. If you cannot just promise something and then not deliver it. Well, if you can't fulfil it, then don't promise it in the first place. Look into. The thing is, embarrassingly, one of the things I'm hearing is that one of the teams that is holding up the goal line technology being fitted is us. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, then that's not good.
I don't know. I don't know who's holding it up. But the other thing I found out,
I don't want it to be us. But that's. It's beside the point. We've been told that there's two teams who have got issues with the rinks/arenas that they are in getting this goal line technology in. But it doesn't matter. It comes back to the point. The officials are using exactly the same tools as they did when the league first came back in 1980. So we want the league to evolve. So what do we give the officials to evolve with? Nothing.
The other thing as well. Sorry, the other thing as well is it would be interesting to see if it's upheld. I don't want to call management speak going forward. How many times have we seen things come in like this? This is, it's like Tina was saying. Don't say you're going to introduce something if you can't do it. Is it going to be one of these things that will happen for? The Twitter ban and things. These things are brought in a blaze of publicity, and then they gradually fade away.
Yeah, they seem to get forgotten about, don't they?
Yeah, because why that is, and is it anything somebody from a club says about something? Could it be something said about another club? Is it just referees?
There's a whole other can of worms opening, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, exactly. But you show me. You know the things I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You show me another sport.
Looking at you, Sheffield. Yeah, go on.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, Jono, but yeah, you're right. You show me another professional, and you can add your own quote marks if you want, sport, where some of the statements that have come out of there, and again, Jono, you don't have to repeat them. You know the ones I mean. Would be allowed.
They wouldn't.
But they're almost glorified by some people. Oh, it's great, and it says that in it. No, it's not. It makes us look unprofessional. Actually, it makes the league look stupid. That people are still calling. The referee favours them because he makes their shirts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let my kids say that when they were 10. I'd tell them you just sound like a spoilt brat. I'm sorry. It's got. If they're going to do it, it's got to be done properly, continually, and across everything.
Yeah, and the other thing about goal line technology, which is what I found out this week, it is actually only for the goal line to see if a puck's crossed the line. I actually thought it was going to encompass anything that happens around the goal net, like a high stick or goaltender interference. It's not. It's just to check if the puck has crossed the line. Now,
won't it just be like a fixed camera anyway?
Yeah, apparently so. And the thing is, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work on some live hockey broadcasts that has had TV reviews, and there was one in Belfast that I did last week in the Friendship 4, where there was a challenge on the goaltender. So the referees wanted to check that the puck had actually crossed the line before the interference took place, and so they called a review, and it was like 90 seconds off. Look at the thing. Yeah, it's a good goal. Call the goal. Done. And it was such a simple system, and it was so easy to implement. And I'm just thinking, why can't we have this? Why can't we have 2 referees and 2 linesmen like every other league does? It frustrates me so much, because
the answer to that is, don't you?
Money. Yeah. Yes.
They don't want to pay. That's why we're back with 3 referees.
Yeah. That's
why goal line technology hasn't been put in place. It's all down to money. It's down to money and the continual short-sighted way in which British ice hockey is run. And going back to referees having the same tools that they did 30-odd years ago, that's not changed. British ice hockey is still run in a short-sighted way.
And the one thing I will say, sorry, so to just jump in, I mean, it doesn't bother me that the goal line technology that is planned is just for checking if pucks have crossed the line. That's fine. You don't have to implement something with all bells and whistles all at once.
As long as it's consistent.
Yeah, baby steps.
It's got to be consistent.
That's that. You don't have to go all guns blazing. It's like if and when the Panthers finally haul themselves into the 21st century and get a webcast, you don't have to implement it with 12 cameras all around the place, and you don't have to have the fancy replays. You just have to have the darn thing broadcast. So the one camera that you've got, that's where you start. You make sure that you can do the basics before you try and implement all sorts of fancy stuff. But the key thing is to implement it in the first place.
And the thing is, you mentioned not having the money, but if they maybe would have accepted the $150,000 deal that Premier Sports put on the table for TV coverage, then maybe they would have had the money to do it.
See previous comment.
There we go. Right, I think we'll have a very quick look at the results from the Elite League over the weekend. So Cardiff with just the one game, a 6-2 victory against the Edinburgh Capitals on Saturday at Ice Arena, Wales, and they are 11 points clear at the top. The Steelers do have 5 games in hand on them, but Cardiff, they've built up a very, very good lead, Paul.
Haven't they just? Oh, if only we. They look good again. I thought they were good for the victory against us last week. Regardless of refereeing decisions and things like that, they were better than us, and they look the real deal this year.
Absolutely. 2 games between the Manchester Storm and the Coventry Blaze. Altrincham on Saturday and Coventry on Sunday. Blaze with 2 victories, 2-0 on Saturday, 6-2 at home on Sunday. Tina, 4 important points for the Blaze after a very, very dodgy period that they've had, and that puts them within touching distance of our good selves.
Yay!
That's not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Oh dear. Well, yeah. I mean, you say they've had a patchy period. I mean, well, we know all about that, don't we?
Hey, I'd settle for a patchy period, frankly, at the moment.
Yes, I think so. But yes, they are. They've done something that we haven't. They've made changes. They have, it was 2 out, 2 in, and I think that was a statement to the rest of the team. If you don't book your ideas up, then you'll be off. So get it together, kind of thing. And obviously they have. The additions they've made have, they've given them a boost, and they're starting to put some wins together. And don't we play them next week?
Yeah, we play them on Saturday.
Yay!
Home win. And the Clan and the Stars also had a home series. The Stars with a 6-4 victory against Braehead at the shopping centre on Saturday, before Clan got their revenge back in Dundee on Sunday with a 6-3 victory themselves. Clan, another team struggling like ourselves.
I'll blame you.
Well, yeah. I mean, you say that, but there is a constant in this.
That's why I said it.
And of course,
it is nice to see Dundee keeping that form up, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That's what you call form.
Form
yes.
team. And people will be wondering what we're on about. Check our Twitter timeline from last week.
People will be wondering what we're on about. Like you say it, that's like it's anything new.
Oh dear. So I think we'll pretty much wrap it up there for tonight. Thank you very much for listening. We've had great listening figures tonight for the show. Yes, misery loves a partner. But first of all, I will say thank you very much to Tina Taylor.
No problem, TTFN.
And thank you very much to Mr. Paul Balm.
No problem at all.
And thank you very much to you for listening and getting in touch and interacting. We will be back with Ask TCW on Wednesday. So if you want to send questions,
that's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, if you want to send in some questions, we have had quite a few already. It's Twitter at CatsWhiskers TV, #AskTCW. Also, you can get us on email, tcwonlinetv@gmail.com. and also the various Facebook groups, and also our thread on the Cage forum if you would like to leave a question. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you then.
She got